So we're now well into early voting, and we're just days from the 2018 midterm election. It's insane how quickly the last 2 years have gone by, but at the same time, it's also stunning how much has happened that it's only been 2 years. And one of the things that hasn't really changed that I've been covering for months in terms of the 2018 midterms, but also for years more generally, is voter suppression tactics. And these have been going on in full force, and they're mostly perpetuated by Republicans. Sometimes Democrats and Republicans are similar on issues. Sometimes Republicans and Democrats are very different. And one of the big differences is that it's the Republicans who, because they know that lower voter turnout helps them, are looking to purge voter rolls, are deregistering people, are shutting down polling places, are reducing early voting hours. And one epicenter of this is Georgia, where we've talked about how Republican Secretary of State Brian Kemp happens to also be the guy running for governor on the Republican side. So as Secretary of State, he is overseeing his election potentially to the governorship of Georgia. There are now growing reports that mail-in ballots are being rejected across the country, but specifically in Georgia as one point of data. The ACLU has sued because Georgia voters in Atlanta are reporting, this is aside, by the way. So there's the lawsuits around the deregistration. These are lawsuits because of a very high rate of rejected absentee mail-in ballots in the Atlanta area, which of course Atlanta, compared to other parts of the state, is disproportionately Democratic and also has a lot of black voters. Almost 10% of absentee ballots as of October 12th were rejected coming from that part of Georgia, compared to only 2% being rejected in other counties. That already should raise some pretty serious questions. But it's not just in Georgia that this is going on, because in New Hampshire, there's a lawsuit around this. In California, there's a lawsuit around extraordinarily high rates of rejected mail-in ballots. And a bunch of these rejections might not even be targeted efforts to disenfranchise necessarily. Some of it actually seems to be plain old ignorance, because there's this process by which election offices need to match signatures on the absentee ballots to the signatures that are on file for those voters. But for different reasons, people's signatures can vary. I know that when I sign the back of my credit cards, writing on plastic, my signature looks very different than when I sign a piece of paper, as an example. People's signatures change over time, especially when you vote only 2 to 4 years. Your signature today might be very different than when you registered to vote 6 years ago or got your most recent driver's license. And when a ballot is rejected for these signature match issues, voters are supposed to be notified and then given an opportunity to fix it, or told, come in and vote in person. This also mostly isn't happening. So this is an example, Pat, of, at the micro level, this could be an example of attempts to disenfranchise left-wing voters. It could be just an example of how our voting systems are antiquated and broken, but it's part of our voting system being in total chaos. And unfortunately, a chaotic voting system, which might depress turnout, is not neutral. This actually helps Republicans, and that's why it's particularly disturbing, because only one side has the same incentive to fix it, because they know they lose when people don't get to vote.
Well, I certainly hope that it's all just an honest mistake, and that training can help make it so that if the signatures don't quite align, they still get their votes counted. If it's something that has to do with more political biases, then I think we have a bigger problem there with our poll workers and people working in those offices. And it's things like these that make me want to just vote in person on election day, because I feel like I can put in my vote and feel more confident about it. I feel like it's just, with all these problems that we have with mail-in votes, voting absentee, early voting, that's just the easiest path forward, and it shouldn't be that way.
Well, that's the crazy thing. People who don't trust voting machines are saying, I'm going to mail in my ballot. I'm going to get my ballot early. I'm going to have plenty of time to look at it at home. I'm not going to have the pressure of a line forming behind me. And I am not going to have to deal with voting machines that might spoil my vote in some way. But then you have people who are saying exactly what you're saying, Pat, which is, I don't trust the mail-in process. Ballots are being rejected. People aren't being notified if that's the case. I'm going to go in and vote in person. So it's a train wreck, because depending on what's going on in your county, at your polling place, you have people who don't trust the in-person voting system and thus are mailing in, and you have people who understandably don't trust the mail-in system and therefore are going in. And the bottom line on this is that you have now examples in this election cycle of voter purges, polling station closures, people denied voting all the time in early voting, and certainly it will happen on election day as well because it always does. Straight ticket votes on machines being switched to the other party, as we saw in Texas with Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz. Provisional ballots being questioned, absentee ballots not being counted. We have a broken democracy, and this is part of it. It's not just the systems of our elected officials. It also is the literal voting systems. And what this also exposes is that anybody trying to swing elections via in-person voter fraud, the way Republicans claim that the left tries to do, you're wasting your time, because there is no way to get an actual in-person voter fraud effort organized that would supersede the variability of purges, uncounted ballots, and all this other stuff. Like it would be, if people were trying to do it, it would be an exercise in futility. And as far as the rejected mail-in ballots, can't we just get email confirmation so people know that their ballot was accepted? Like, is that truly so different? So difficult to do? Or are we arguing that that exceeds our technological capability? And if we are, then those systems need to be fixed right away. I am thrilled to tell you that one of today's sponsors is simplehabit.com/Pakman, where you can go and get a 7-day totally free trial of an app that I use personally and love. I've talked to you before about the benefits of meditation, just simply sitting there, observing what it is that your mind wants to do, has been a great thing for me. We have so much evidence growing all the time that this is just a good thing for people to do. And one of the best tools you'll be able to find anywhere online for guiding you through meditation is Simple Habit. It just won the 2018 Google Play Award for Best Well-Being App, a very well-deserved award. They have guided meditations by some of the most respected mindfulness experts from the East and West. You can choose from a huge selection of 5-minute meditations, each designed specifically for where you are or what you're doing or the mood that you're in. They have meditations for falling asleep, for when you're waking up, for your daily commute, when you've just gotten home from work. There are meditations specially crafted to help people deal with anxiety or to get focused before doing something difficult. And Simple Habit lets you keep track of your progress by giving you feedback about how much you're meditating, how many days in a row you've been meditating. It's a really comprehensive and well put together app. Go check it out. You can try it free for 7 days at simplehabit.com/Pakman. I've put a link underneath this video.